Well, thank you all so much for joining us today on the AFC Vacations virtual travel show. I'm your host, Will Reese, and I'm the marketing rep for AFC. Been with the company a number of years and looking forward to a great 2026. It's crazy to think about how fast last year went with a lot of great trips that went out. But we have a full schedule, full lineup of trips and tours heading out the door from the US and Canada. These great destinations have so much to offer, and we have a lot of diversity in the trips. Almost 30 tours that I'll be talking about today, so a lot to get through, but a number of really wonderful destinations around these areas. So let's get into it. Happy New Year to everybody, and thanks for joining us with AFC Vacations. If you're new to AFC, what we offer is worldwide tours and cruises, all different travel styles, whether it's an unpack once tour at one hotel for your entire stay, our train trips that go both in the US as well as overseas, and our European river cruise charters, where we charter the entire ship, and it's a really relaxing vacation where you get to see a lot throughout Europe. Our land tours by motor coach, both in the US as well as internationally, cover a lot of ground. And then we also have special event trips that I'll talk about. What's included with an AFC tour? First and foremost, round-trip airfare, and that's shown in the brochure and on the website from each of the major gateways. If one of the gateways isn't listed and you have friends or family members that want to join you on that trip, they can always call us at our office and connect with Dave in our air department. He does a great job of booking everybody's air tickets. And then we also offer a number of guarantees. First is our guaranteed departures. You'll see that on our brochure and our show today with the symbols GD, and that means guaranteed departure. That trip is ready to go out the door. We have enough passengers booked on that tour, so that's a solid departure. And then as the year progresses, we'll see more and more of those dates become guaranteed, so you can look out for that as well. And then guaranteed pricing. What that means is once you put your deposit down on a trip, your price is locked in. So even as fuel prices change and other costs are sent our way from our vendors, that doesn't get passed on to you. So put your deposit in today, lock in your tour and your space on the trips because they are first come, first serve. And then a wonderful team of tour managers that we have to run these trips from all over the US and all over the world. They're experts in their areas. They do a great job of prepping for the trips and getting you comfortable in the destinations and showing you the world. So we really appreciate our tour managers, and some of them have been with us over a decade. Our home pickup airport service is a great source for you. We pick you up at your door, take you to the airport, and bring you back at the end of the trip. And it simplifies so much of the travel process, where to park your car, what to do with your car during your trip. And if you choose to make your own way to the airport, whether you use Uber or Lyft or get a ride from friends or family and get picked up that way too, we take $100 off your final payment as a home pickup credit. So that's another easy way to save money with AFC. What the company really stands for, though, is real people and real service. And we've been that way since 1982. So a tremendous run of years and years of service within this travel industry to provide folks the opportunity to go places they've always wanted to travel. We're also covered under a consumer protection plan with the USTOA, that's the United States Tour Operators Association, and that has a $1 million traveler's assistance program. So if for any reason the company went through insolvency, your funds are protected. But with 44 years in the travel industry, it hasn't been a problem yet, and we don't anticipate it being a problem in the future. We have a lot of great value to our trips and a lot of great offers. Our first is our risk-free deposits, and that's good for 2026 as well. So if you make your deposit, it comes without a risk. Any cancellations prior to 90 days out of departure, there's no loss to you. So you can get a future travel credit for any cancellation fee, deposit, or travel insurance. So it really does provide a peace of mind in the travel process. Travelers Club is also a great resource. It's a loyalty program that we offer, and that's for tours and European river cruises where you're automatically enrolled to save a credit, and that is a $100 loyalty credit. So once you've traveled with us and take a second trip within 18 months, that next tour is automatically credited $100 off. And then our Refer a Friend credit. This is a great resource for folks. If you tell your friends or family members about AFC and they do take a trip with us, your next tour is $100 off. So really spread the word. That's how we got started and how we grew as a company. People told their friends and family members about AFC, and we grew from coast to coast. Finally, our early booking savings, and it extends to more people than ever. Up to the first 40 guests to book on a departure receive a discount. So the first 20 on our domestic and international programs receive $100 off. Our 21st through 40th client receives $75 off. And so it really does pay to book early. And those are double the amount when you're looking at our European river cruises. So $200 off for the first 20 clients on our European river cruises. So a great way to save. You just pay your final payment by check and being in one of those categories. Getting into some of our great departures, our mystery tours are some of our most popular trips that we offer. And we offer one just about every other month. Our start is our February 21st, which is a guaranteed departure. And that's hosted by Deb Howard. And she does a fantastic job out on the road, guiding folks all over. And these are 5 days in length. They go all over, primarily within the U.S., with the exception of our August 9th International Mystery Tour. And that'll be led by Chris McCool. So the majority are within the U.S. They're not necessarily places you would first consider as a travel destination, but we do a tremendous job in our office and our product team in developing these programs with great inclusions, great activities to make these trips come alive. And so that's one of the big highlights is finding out where you're going once you arrive. Each step of the way is a mystery, and it's always fun to tell the people at the airport counter you don't know where you're going. But a lot of diversity within the programs. We have over 60 destinations that we use for our mystery tours, and that international mystery tour does exit the U.S. in August. We'll start out with some of our Canadian programs today, and we have a large diversity both within the Rockies as well as other parts of Canada. And as you can see, a lot of these trips throughout the summer. So June through September is when the biggest peak of Canadian travel occurs. Best weather up there as well. I've been there in May where it's cooler, but still comfortable. But anytime June through September is a great time to visit. So as we look at this great program, Canadian Rockies and Glacier National Park, we fly in and out of Calgary. We get to spend 3 nights in Banff, in the Banff area, seeing these beautiful lakes and mountains of the Canadian Rockies. And having just spent time up there, it is absolutely stunning. One of the most beautiful places I've ever visited, especially when you look at Lake Louise and some of the other gorgeous areas. We'll take the Icefields Parkway up to the Athabasca Glacier on the Ice Explorer. And that's a wonderful trip on that large vehicle with the big wheels. And we also visit Glacier National Park on this itinerary, so going down into Montana. But this one runs all throughout the summer. July's already sold out on the 29th, but many of these are guaranteed departures already, and they will sell out. So please don't wait if you're interested in going. Nova Scotia and the Canadian Maritimes, getting out to Halifax as our primary starting point. So we start and end in Halifax, doing a loop around Nova Scotia, working out to Baddeck and the beautiful Cabot Trail, which is pictured in the bottom left. We then head off to Prince Edward Island, and this is one of the most stunning stretches in this region. We'll stay in Charlottetown for 2 nights, and this is also where we get to learn a little bit of Anne of Green Gables and that whole story. Then it's down to Moncton. We go out to Hopewell Rocks, home of one of the largest tides in all of the world, and that's pictured down in the bottom right. And we wrap up with a visit to Lunenburg and then a 2-night stay at the back end in Halifax to get to see that beautiful city and some of the best seafood I've ever had. Is wonderful lobster, great foods all around on the whole trip. But this is a great program, 9 days and 12 meals out to Nova Scotia. Our Majestic Canadian Rockies is an Unpack Once tour. This stays in one hotel for your entire trip on Banff Avenue. And so it's a great location, easy to walk to the different hotels, different properties and restaurants all through Banff. Banff is a great center point to get to see all these beautiful lakes like Emerald Lake, where the photo with the canoes down in the bottom right is taken. And then Peyto Lake, You get to see Lake Louise, and we do a lunch on Lake Louise at the Chateau Lake Louise. So that's a really fantastic experience. Going by yourself, it's $35 to park, so you might as well go on a tour and get to see more and not have to worry about the little costs. And then we work our way out to the Athabasca Parkway, and that's a beautiful stretch with that incredible glacier. We also go up to the top of the Banff Mountain area and get to see down from above. So just a really wonderful program, and it really does help to settle into one hotel and maximize your stay on that. Our Great Canadian Cities in Niagara Falls program is the best of Eastern Canada as we explore Montreal, Quebec, Ottawa, Toronto, and Niagara Falls. So we'll start in Montreal with 2 nights, do a city tour there, getting to see the Notre Dame Cathedral. And then we take the Via Rail train up to Quebec from there and get a wonderful 2-night stay in Quebec City. We'll do a city tour around that stretch, getting to see some of the copper industry that takes place. And then up to Montmorency Falls, and that's a beautiful waterfall just to the north of the city. From there, it's down to Ottawa, and we'll do a full city tour featuring the Parliament building there. And we do the 1,000 Islands, and we do it by cruise, getting to see all these tiny little islands within this stretch, and it's just a really beautiful and scenic area to visit. Toronto's become a great city that I've loved to visit on a regular basis now, getting to see the beautiful tower, a lot of great art and activity that happens within that city. And we'll do a city tour of Toronto before heading to the Niagara Falls area. And it's just a couple of hours away to Niagara. We'll see Niagara on the lake, the beautiful town right there. Lots of great little wineries and shops within that stretch. We'll go out on a boat through Niagara Falls, getting to see the falls from below, which actually gives a better perspective than looking down on it. And then we do a wrap up with our visit to the Skyline Tower for our farewell dinner. And this one has 3 departures, July, August, and September. Then our last Canadian program that I'll talk about is our Canadian Rockies by rail. And this is a wonderful rail journey that takes us from the west to the central part of Canada. We start with 2 nights in Vancouver. We do a city tour of Vancouver, and we also go out by ferry over to Vancouver Island. And that's where we see Butchart Gardens and the city of Victoria, British Columbia. We come back in for our last night in Vancouver, and then we board the Via Rail train, and that takes us up and over the mountains, and we spend 1 night on board the train as we cross over to the Jasper area, and we stay a night in Jasper before working our way down to the lakes, the beautiful Moline Lake and Lake Louise, Yoho National Park, and then into Banff for 3 great nights. So it really does maximize the best of Western Canada on this trip and incorporates a great train experience. On our eastern seaboard, we have the beautiful state of North Carolina and our North Carolina and Outer Banks tour, which will be led by Deb Howard on both our May and September dates for 2026. I just talked to Deb today. If you've traveled with her, you know her well. She absolutely loves the hotels on this program. They're mostly oceanfront hotels. Great opportunity to get out on the beach and explore a little bit. But really, a highlight is getting to see the city of Raleigh. And then from there, working our way out to Atlantic Beach for 2 nights. And so having our base on the coast for these great experiences. We'll go up to Beaufort, and that's a beautiful town on the coast. We'll also head off to Ocracoke Island. And in this area is said to be the end point for one of the famous pirates. So a lot of great pirateering stories. Then we see a number of lighthouses on the trip. We'll work our way up to the north and up into Roanoke Island. We'll stay 3 nights in Nags Head, and we also incorporate a really fantastic experience. That's the off-road nature safari. And that's where we take you out to see the wild horses along the coastline. So really wonderful stop there. We'll go up to the Wright Brothers National Memorial, so you'll learn about the history of flight. And then we also do an Inner Banks lunch cruise on this trip. But a really fantastic program. We've made some adjustments from the previous times we've run it back about 5 or 6 years ago. So a really fantastic experience overall. Washington, D.C. Cherry Blossoms is a fantastic trip, getting to see our nation's capital. We stay 5 nights in one hotel, This trip is already guaranteed March 23rd. And we start out with that one hotel stay before working our way down to Arlington National Cemetery. So you get to see the gravesite of some of our nation's servicemen and women, see the changing of the guard at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, and then we work our way into the downtown area and stop at Ford's Theater. And this is where Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. We'll get to see the theater itself as well. In the basement is a fantastic museum dedicated to Abraham Lincoln. We'll also see the booth where Abraham Lincoln was shot up in the top. So you can walk up there and see that. We'll visit the Smithsonian museums. We'll work our way to one primary museum, and then you'll have the pick of any of the museums you want to visit that afternoon. We'll visit the Library of Congress on this tour, and this is a really fantastic experience, going to the Capitol Visitor Center and walking through the halls there. And then a cherry blossoms cruise on the Potomac. And so that's a relaxing lunch experience. We'll work our way out on the water and get to see the cherry blossoms from there. As any good gardener knows, it's hard to predict exactly when the cherry blossoms are going to blossom, but we do our best to try to line that up each and every year. And then on our way throughout the city, we'll do an illuminations tour, and that highlights a lot of the great monuments in DC, whether it's the Vietnam Wall, you also have the World War II Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial out on the tidal basin, and much, much more. So we'll get to see a lot of that on our monuments tour in the evening when the lights dim. The other great aspect of this tour is going out to George Washington's estate. And this is Mount Vernon, just to the south of Washington, D.C. And this estate is where his family lived and ran a farm, where Martha stayed while he was off at war. And it's also the site of his grave. And so down by the river, you can walk down there and see his gravesite as well. But really wonderful tour all in all. We finish up with a great visit to Annapolis and the U.S. Naval Academy. Our San Antonio Fiesta is a really fun trip. San Antonio does a great job highlighting its main festivals and events, and this is no different. And this is centered around the Texas Cavaliers River Parade. So there's all sorts of floats that run down the river. We'll have seating on the outsides, on the outskirts, and getting a chance to see all these great floats. And this parade is put on by the U.S. Army. So it's a wonderful experience to go and see. We'll do a San Antonio city tour, and that highlights some of the great neighborhoods around San Antonio, while also visiting the IMAX movie to learn about the great battle at the Alamo. And then we'll walk right across the street to the Alamo itself, getting a chance to enjoy that wonderful site. We work our way down to, or up to Austin, and that is the state capital. We'll do a city tour and incorporate the Lyndon B. Johnson Presidential Library. And then Fredericksburg is another visit we'll do on a separate day, and that is up in the Hill Country. And the Hill Country is well known in Texas for its wine production. So we'll visit a winery and do a wine tasting up there. That's also home to the National Museum of the Pacific War. And it's a fantastic exhibit, tremendous museum that focuses on the Pacific Ocean and the battles that took place there. And it's named after Admiral Chester Nimitz, who was the admiral of the naval fleet in the Pacific during the battles of World War II. And a wonderful start and end to this program with a great welcome and farewell dinner, but 4 nights at one hotel going out April 17th. Our Mackinac Island, the Grand Hotel and Niagara Falls tour is probably one of our most popular trips, and you can see that in how many of the dates are guaranteed already. So May is sold out. May 29th is still has some space, but all through October we run this great trip, and it really is a highlight for a lot of folks who have taken a number of AFC trips. We'll work our way into Detroit and stay 2 nights in Dearborn, and that's where we get to see the Henry Ford exhibits. From there, we'll work our way up to Mackinac, and this is a huge highlight, staying 2 nights at the famous Grand Hotel. And this is where we'll do, it's a ferry ride, about 15-20 minutes over to the island. We're picked up by horse-drawn carriage and taken over to the Grand Hotel. And we'll do a horse-drawn carriage city tour and island tour, getting to see the homes on the bluffs, the downtown area, and so much. Then we'll work our way down to Frankenmuth. That's a Bavarian-style village town with an incredible Christmas store. So we'll make a stop there. And finally, we wrap up this trip with 2 great nights in the Niagara Falls area on the Canadian side. So you will need your passports, but that gives a better perspective of the falls. We'll see the falls from above. We'll also do the Maid of the Mist type cruise that goes under the falls, and then visiting the Niagara Falls area, Niagara on the lake. So a lot of great activities surrounding that. We wrap up with a great farewell dinner at the Skylon Tower. Our Music Cities New Orleans, Memphis, Nashville trip is a highlight for a lot of folks, especially if you have deep-rooted interest in music. And this starts in New Orleans. We work our way in for 3 nights in the beautiful city, getting to stay right in the French Quarter, and that's generally at the Bienville House. From there, it's very easy to walk over to a number of the great sites, including Bourbon Street. We'll do a city tour by motor coach. We'll do a French Quarter walking tour, so you get to see some of the beautiful structures and architecture. And then we also take you over to one of the great cemeteries. The underground burial process is a really fascinating component of New Orleans with all the flooding that's occurred over the years. So that's a highlight for a lot of folks. We do the paddle wheel cruise out on the steamboat and work our way on the Mississippi River. And then we do the New Orleans School of Cooking as a wonderful dinner and demonstration. So it really does provide a great experience getting to learn how to cook these Cajun meals. We'll work our way up to Jackson, Mississippi, and then over to Memphis. And en route, we stop at B.B. King's Museum and learn all about his history with the blues. On arrival in Memphis, we'll spend 2 nights in the city. We work our way out to Graceland, and that's where we get to see Elvis Presley's home. And then to the Civil Rights Museum, we'll learn all about the historic events that took place in the March Towards Freedom. We then work our way over to Beale Street and have a great dinner on Beale Street, which is home of the blues. And each of these cities are known for one type of music, but they have music going on all the time in different styles and formats. So even though that New Orleans is a city of jazz, it's got just about every type of music, the same for Memphis and, of course, Nashville. Nashville, home of country music, but a great diversity there as well. We'll do the Country Music Hall of Fame. We also incorporate a visit to the Grand Ole Opry, and we enjoy that great performance on this tour. So a big highlight on the trip overall, getting to see that Grand Ole Opry performance. But this one runs March 16th, May 11th, and October 5th. Nashville Smokies and Bluegrass is a great tour going out to the east. We'll start out by flying into Louisville for 2 nights, and there we get a chance to see the Ark Encounter while we're in Kentucky. We also take you to the Evan Williams Bourbon Experience, and so one of the biggest productions in Kentucky is, of course, bourbon. So a lot of great stories around that, a really fun experience and tasting at Evan Williams. And then the Churchill Downs, the racetrack itself, where the Kentucky Derby has taken place. We'll go through the museum and also get a chance to see the racetrack itself. As we work our way to the south, we'll also incorporate a visit to the Kentucky Horse Park, and that celebrates man's relationship with horse. It's a tremendous stable area and a really fun visit. As we work our way into Tennessee, we'll stay 2 nights in the Gatlinburg area. And this is where we'll go out to Pigeon Forge as well as the Smoky Mountains National Park. Now, Pigeon Forge has all sorts of activities around it. We'll get a chance to visit there. We do a wonderful day trip out to the Smoky Mountains National Park, and that's known for the fog that hovers over the mountains, but also a tremendous diversity of wildlife. And then we also from there visit the Biltmore Estate in North Carolina. And that's a fun stop to make. We'll get a chance to go explore the Biltmore, built in the 1800s, and it's incredible property, the gardens, the home itself. We end up in Nashville for our last 3 nights. We'll also incorporate a stop at Dollywood, so you get to see the theme park. And in Nashville, we'll do a city tour and also incorporate the Grand Ole Opry. So really fun program going out May, September, and October. Now, this is one of our most popular trips that has been the case for a number of years, and that's our historic Savannah and Charleston. March 20th and April 24th are our spring departures. October 23rd is also on the books. And this is just such a wonderful experience going out into South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. So we start in South Carolina, coming into Charleston for 2 nights. And from there, we go up to Middleton Place. And that's a beautiful home, estate, and gardens. We'll do a city tour of Charleston, getting to see some of the famous sites throughout town. It's a beautiful waterfront park, Battery Park, and famous sculptures and statues along that stretch. And then making our way down to Beaufort, that is Beaufort, South Carolina. And we'll get a chance to do a horse-drawn carriage tour throughout Beaufort, seeing some of the beautiful homes and the water there. Arriving into Savannah, we spend 2 nights in this gorgeous city. And it's built with about 24 public parks within the city planning. So a lot of great open space to explore. We'll see some of the beautiful fountains and statues there as well. And then take you on a city tour. So you get to learn some of the rich history, the cotton history, the slave trade as well. So some of the rich components of what made the South develop. And then down into Jekyll Island, we stayed 2 nights at the beautiful Jekyll Island Resort. And that's become a huge, huge highlight for folks. So we stayed 2 nights at that great property. We'll work our way out to St. Simon's Island in the Georgia Gulf. And then we have a wonderful dinner incorporated at the Jekyll Island Grand Dining Room. But really fun tour to experience going out this year. Another fun program incorporating a festival or event is our Great Lakes Adventure and Tulip Festival. Now, the Tulip Festival occurs May 7th as part of that tour. And then we do a fall trip that incorporates some of the great lighthouses in September. So a little bit of a diversity or difference between the 2 dates. On this program, we'll fly in and out of Chicago. We then work our way up into Michigan and start out with a visit to Holland. We do 2 nights in Grand Rapids. It's a beautiful city with all sorts of great breweries and restaurants. And then seeing that wonderful Holland Tulip Festival, bringing some of that culture from the Netherlands over to the United States with immigration. Really beautiful fields, all different colors of flowers as we explore. And then continuing up to the north, as we do, we'll also get a chance to stop 2 nights on Mackinac Island. Now, we don't stay at the Grand Hotel on this property, but you do get to see it. We'll then go from Mackinac down into the northern tip of Michigan and into Wisconsin. And that's where we stay 2 nights in Green Bay. We'll do a visit to Lambeau Field, so you get to see the home of the Green Bay Packers. And that's the only fan-based owned organization within pro sports. From there, we head up to Door County. So great visit up in that region. And then continuing down to Milwaukee by way of the Upper Dells. And that's where we'll take a boat cruise. We spend 1 night in Milwaukee. We'll get a chance to tour the area before arriving back into Chicago. So just a wonderful program. Again, that special highlight for the Tulip Festival, but the fall colors in September are beautiful also. Up to the northeast, our New York City and Hudson Valley tour runs May, September, and October. This is a primarily 3-night stay in New York with a 3-night stay in Hudson Valley. So you get the best of both worlds, the big city, as well as a little bit of the northern parts of New York. We'll start out with a visit around the city with a local guide, and that'll take us to the 9/11 Memorial. We'll visit the Statue of Liberty in Ellis Island, and then we also incorporate a Broadway show. So 1 night we'll pick a show. You'll have a free night as well. So if you wanted to plan another activity or another show, you could do so. And then taking you out on our way to the Hudson Valley, we stop at West Point. And this is where we get to see the military academy as part of a tour. From there, it's up to the Hudson Valley area. And usually we stay around Poughkeepsie or some of those great areas. Then down into Boscobel House and Gardens for a great visit, learning all about the homestead there. And then we do a Hudson River cruise on this program. So you get to see the river from the water itself. But a really great highlight going up to New Paltz. This is where the Huguenots settled from Europe as they made their way into the United States, present-day United States. And it's just a fun way to learn about the Native American culture and some of the first settlers. Now, this is a brand new tour for us, specifically for 2026, as it highlights some of the best of the historic aspects of Eastern U.S. This is celebrating the 250th anniversary of America, and so we highlight some of the great cities, great territories, and regions within this area. We'll start out in Philadelphia, of course, the home of the Constitution. We'll visit Independence Hall and the Liberty Bell. And then we make our way out through Amish country into Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and learn a little bit about the Amish as we go. We'll stay 2 nights in Gettysburg in that area and visit the museum and visitor center, as well as seeing some of the great battlefields of Gettysburg. As we make our way south into Virginia, we'll stop in Shenandoah National Park, and that's an incredible site, getting to see some of the wildlife and landscape there. Then it's off to Charlottesville. And Charlottesville is an amazing town, great community as a whole, famous for a lot of fantastic music, and a visit from there to Monticello. And that is Thomas Jefferson's home and estate. So we'll learn about Thomas Jefferson that way, get a chance to see his home, his property, and learn about his life before heading off into Richmond and some of the great historical aspects around the Civil War center around the Richmond area. And then finally in Williamsburg. And Williamsburg's a fantastic base, getting to see some of the great colonial aspects of America. We finished the tour in Washington, D.C., in our nation's capital, with 3 nights. That's where we'll do a illuminations tour, getting to see the monuments all around town. We also visit Mount Vernon, so home of George Washington, Arlington National Cemetery, and the White House Visitor Center. So this one goes out in the fall, September 20th and October 11th. Also, within the Philadelphia and Pennsylvania area is our Brandywine, Philadelphia, and Amish Country tour. And this is a 1 hotel stay. We used to do it with multiple hotels, getting around a lot of the state, but found that this is the best way to go about it, to really give you a relaxing vacation while also seeing some of the great sights. So we stay 5 nights in Philly. We then work our way out to Brandywine Valley. And throughout this stretch, we'll go to Valley Forge. And that's where George Washington established the Continental Army. So that was the winter encampment, really brought the troops together, moving through the winter and into the spring of that year. And then Longwood Gardens and Nemours Mansion are 2 great visits to beautiful estate properties with incredible garden areas to visit. We work our way up to Hershey, Pennsylvania, home of Hershey Chocolates. And that's a can't miss site if you're a chocolate lover like myself. Just all of the different types of chocolates that is under the Hershey's brand, whether it's Reese's, Hershey's, so much more. And then into the Amish country. And this is a great opportunity to visit the livelihoods, the lifestyles of the Amish, and learn a little bit about the difference between the Amish and Mennonite way of life. But this one goes out June and September. So June's already guaranteed. We anticipate September reaching that point too. One of our most popular tours up in the Northeast is our Cape Cod and the Islands. And this one you can see runs about twice a month, many of which are already guaranteed. Only 1 or 2 are not guaranteed yet. But this tour starts and ends in Boston. And we'll fly into Boston, getting a chance to see some of the highlights like Faneuil Hall, and then the Boston Commons, the beautiful park in the city center. Then we'll work our way out to Plymouth, and we'll see Plymouth Plantation, the Pawtucket Plantation, Plymouth Rock, and the Mayflower 2. And then as we work our way out to the coastline, we'll stay 5 nights in either Hyannis or Yarmouth as our base. And that's where we work our way out to Provincetown. That's at the tip of the Cape and one of the most beautiful little communities. We then go from there by ferry to Nantucket for a day. So we do the Whaling Museum in Nantucket. One of the ways that the East got so much wealth was the whaling industry. Then we take a ferry down to Martha's Vineyard and get to learn all about that area. Beautiful Edgartown and so much more in that stretch. We'll drive down into Rhode Island for one of the days, and that's where we'll visit Newport. And there's a great city tour that we do. We'll have lunch in Newport and visit the Breakers Mansion. And this is an incredible estate. So really wonderful tour all in all. And we conclude it with a lobster farewell dinner. Now, this has become a really popular trip over the last 3 or 4 years, and that's our main coastal lighthouses. So we start by flying into Boston as well. One of the biggest differences on the Boston City Tour with the main trip is that we do include Fenway Park. So one of the oldest sports stadiums in all of America, and getting a chance to see the Green Monster, the left field wall. Then from there, on our city tour, we'll see a lot of the famous sites, including the Boston Harbor. We'll work our way up to some of these small little harbor areas along the coast of Maine, and that is York and Ogunquit. And we stay in either Kennebunkport or Ogunquit for our 5-night stay in Maine. And from there, we'll go out each and every day, seeing some of the highlights throughout Maine. We'll go up to Portland and do a city tour. We'll see the Portland Head Lighthouse as part of that, and the Seashore Trolley Museum, which is famous for its smaller trolleys within the town. We'll also get a chance to see Walker's Point, and that is the hub of the Bush compound, the Bush family. And then up to Cape Nettic Lighthouse. So a great chance to see some of these beautiful structures that kept the sailors at sea. Our trip out on a couple of boats is a real big highlight. One is our lobster boat cruise, and that's where you get to learn all about lobster fishing, what they're looking for, the different types of lobsters. And up in that area, they can get lobsters 8 to 10 pounds. Just incredible. We'll do a lobster clam bake. That's a wonderful opportunity to try some fresh lobster. And there'll be plenty of opportunities to do so on the trip as well, as you'll have some free lunches to explore and get a lobster roll. And then we head up to Boothbay Harbor, and we do a optional tour to the Botanical Gardens. And that's a really big highlight. It's an incredible garden area. A lot of people compare it to the Bouchard Gardens out in Victoria. But just a really wonderful trip all in all, and 3 dates in July, September, and October. Looking at another newer program, we just released this last year, 2025, and that is our West Virginia Rails and Williamsburg trip. So last year we sold out all 4 departure dates. This year we've added even more. So we have one in May. So if you want to check this area out in the springtime, it's a lovely time to go. We fly into Washington, D.C., and then do a illuminations tour of the monuments there. Then we head into the northern tip of West Virginia, and we visit a couple of different railroad experiences. One is the Potomac Eagle Scenic Train, and that's a lovely visit along the valleys. And then we stay 2 nights in Elkins before taking the New Tigert Flyer, and these are restored diesel engines, so it's a fun experience out in the countryside of West Virginia. We then head down to the Greenbrier Resort. And that's one of the most famous historical resorts in all of the East Coast, dating back to 1776. In the basement is a bunker that you'll get a chance to explore on our tour. And that was for the diplomats of Washington, D.C. in case the Capitol was attacked. As we work our way over to Monticello, we do a visit to Thomas Jefferson's home and estate on this trip as well. And then a 3-night stay in Williamsburg. And that's where we'll do a chance to see the colonial segments of Williamsburg. We visit Yorktown, the Yorktown Revolution Museum, as well as the battlefield, and the Jamestown settlement before returning to D.C. So really fun trip, 8 days and 12 meals included. Now our Hawaii 3 Islands trip has been a fun experience each and every time we've run it. Our February departure is just sold out. We just got the email today. And we still have space on March and November. Both great times to go. It's still a little cool whether you're in California or other parts of the states, but in Hawaii, it's always tropical. And so we work our way over to the island of Oahu to start out with, and 3 nights there, getting a chance to see Pearl Harbor and a city tour of Honolulu. And that's where we stay right near the Waikiki Beach. From there, we fly over and do the Big Island, and staying 2 nights in Kona, going out to the Black Sand Volcanic Beach and seeing so much of this great island. Very beautiful stretch of the national park with the volcanoes area. And then over to Maui for our last 3 nights, and that's where we stay out along the coastline there. We generally utilize the Whalers Village and get a chance to see the Kaanapali area. And we visit the tropical plantation. So you get a chance to see all the different plant life that's growing within the islands. But a really wonderful visit up to Haleakala, which is the volcanic crater on Maui. And then we wrap up with a farewell dinner, which is a luau, so the traditional Polynesian activity. So a really fun trip going out through the islands, getting to see these three major islands. Our Utah's Mighty National Parks trip is a wonderful experience. We've adjusted the itinerary a little bit over the last couple of years, and so now we'll fly into Salt Lake City instead of over to Colorado. But from Salt Lake, we'll spend a night. We then work our way down to Moab, and that's where we spend 4 nights at one hotel. We'll go out to Capitol Reef National Park, also getting a chance to see Monument Valley, and that's where we're led by a Navajo native guide that takes us through the valley itself. We see Dead Horse State Point, and that's the point of the Colorado River that bends around, and then also visiting Canyonlands, and we see Canyonlands at night, which is just stunning. A big highlight for a lot of folks is going up to Arches National Park, and this has over 2,000 arch formations throughout this wonderful park area. And then we head back up to Park City before flying home, so we spend our last night in Park City and then fly out of Salt Lake. But it's an 8-day program with 10 meals included, all of our breakfasts, and then a handful of dinners. Probably one of my favorite trips to lead is our Great Trains and Grand Canyons, and this is a 5-night stay in the beautiful, stunning Sedona, Arizona. We'll fly into Phoenix, drive up to Sedona, which is about 2 hours or so, and then from Sedona, that'll be our hub, and we'll go out to the Grand Canyon. We'll take the Grand Canyon Railroad from Williams, and that ends at the south rim of the canyon, and then have some time at the beautiful National Park of the Grand Canyon, and it's just so stunning to look out over the canyon itself. And we'll see it from a number of viewpoints as we go, but you'll have some free time at Bright Angel Lodge there. From there, we work our way into Flagstaff. We do a great dinner, and it's kind of a dinner show with the local community performers. And then that night, we'll come back into Sedona, settle our heads back at our hotel. We go out to Montezuma's Castle, and this is the cliff dwelling that's in the bottom left corner. Beautiful dwelling that could house about 50 different tribal members. And it was built up into the rocks for protection, both against volcanic eruption at the time, as well protection from other tribes. We'll go out to Verde Canyon, and this is where we take the Verde Canyon Railroad. It is a magical trip, a really lovely train ride, and we have first-class seats on the train, so very comfortable and wonderful opportunity to go out into the open-air car, and that has a naturalist that talks all about the landscape, some of the rock formations, and the wildlife. But all around, a fantastic trip, 5 nights, 6 days in Sedona. Our Colorado Rails and National Parks tour is a very popular one that goes throughout the summer. So every month, June, July, August, and September have a departure, and I would anticipate all of them being guaranteed by within probably the next month or two. So really fun trip starting in Denver, and we spend the night on arrival. We then visit the resort town of Vail, coming around into Grand Junction, which is a great hub to get a chance to see Arches and Canyonlands National Park from. And then we head down to Silverton, and that's where we take the Silverton-Durango Railroad one direction down into Durango for a 2-night stay. From Durango, that's a great point to head out to Mesa Verde, another amazing cliff-dwelling location, and then up into the Great Sand Dunes, getting to see one of the largest segments of sand dunes in North America. Colorado Springs also has a ton of activities around it, and so we position ourselves there for 3 nights, and that's where we'll go to the U.S. Olympic Center, also very prevalent being that it's an Olympic year coming up next month. We'll go out to Pikes Peak and do the Cogway, taking the route up to the top. And then we also take the Royal Gorge Railroad, and that's pictured in the bottom right. It's a beautiful railroad experience along the valley. We wrap up with our departure out of Denver, and again, this one goes out throughout the summer, so really fun trip for your summer vacation. Another great program is our Pacific Coast Adventure. This is Seattle to San Francisco, 8 days starting in Seattle. And Seattle is just such a lovely city in the summertime. I always tell people anytime after July 5th is a great time to go. A lot of people think it's constantly raining. It's not. We just tell people that. But July 12th and August 9th are the two departure dates that we have, and both great times to visit the Northwest. So as we visit Seattle, we'll do the Space Needle. We'll see the Chihuly Garden and Glass. Dale Chihuly, famous for his beautiful glass work. And then coming down throughout the state of Washington, getting to see Western Washington in its glory in the peak of summer with all the beautiful trees. And the reason why people stay there is because of the greenery, the scenery, the stunning tree life, and beautiful outskirts. We'll come down into Portland. We'll spend one night there and get a chance to do a Portland city tour with the Rose Test Gardens, and then over to Multnomah Falls. And this is an incredible waterfall that's split up into two segments. It's a great location right on the Columbia River, so you get to see the Columbia River Gorge part of it. And then we work our way south out to the coastline of Oregon. And this is just such a beautiful segment of the West Coast. Very ragged coastline. You'll see all sorts of different rock outcroppings. We'll visit the sand dunes down near Florence and some great stories around that. And then into Newport is usually where we'll stop for lunch before heading into Coos Bay. And Coos Bay is a little logging town as well as fishing harbor, famous for oysters. And then coming down into California, we'll continue down the stretch. We'll do a jet boat ride on the Rogue River as we work our way to the south tip of Oregon, and then into the Redwoods National Park. And we'll get to see a number of stretches of redwoods, first as we cross the border, and then as we work our way south from Eureka. Eureka is also famous for its lumber and logging. We'll stay a night there. We'll have great dinner, and then head off to San Francisco. Now, en route, we'll also visit the beautiful stretch of redwood trees that occurs right in that area. And then we incorporate a winery. We'll do a winery and wine tasting as we work our way towards San Francisco for our last 2 nights with a city tour by the bay. We have a couple of trips that hit these areas. This is our Mount Rushmore, Yellowstone, and Western Frontiers tour. And it really does highlight a lot of the West when it comes to the national parks. So we start with 3 nights in Rapid City. We'll get a chance to see Badlands as well as Mount Rushmore, both in the day as well as the nighttime. So they do a great illuminations tour. We'll see Crazy Horse Memorial, and that's a project been long in the making. And then we head up into Montana, and that's where we'll see the Battle of Little Bighorn. We'll stay the night in Billings, and Billings is a great hub to work our way back into Wyoming. And that's where we visit the the town of Cody, and the Buffalo Bill Cody Museum. And this is a 5-part museum, one of the most beautiful museums in all of the country, highlighting Western art, Native American art, and Wild West history. We then come into Yellowstone on the east entrance, and that's where we travel along Yellowstone Lake and the beautiful reservoir. And then over into West Yellowstone for a 2-night stay. We'll come back for a full loop tour of the lower basin of Yellowstone National Park. And that'll feature the Yellowstone Lake, Yellowstone River, and as well getting to see Old Faithful and a lot of the beautiful fountain pots throughout that area. We then head down into Jackson for 1 night. We'll see the Grand Tetons as we make our way through. And then finally ending up in Salt Lake City out in Utah. And that's where we'll fly home after our city tour. So this one also running throughout the summertime. June, July, and August. A slightly varied version of that is our Black Hills and Badlands tour. And this is one of my favorites to lead as a tour guide. We stay 6 nights in one hotel in Rapid City. And there's so many great activities around this area, around Rapid City, in the Black Hills, and over to Badlands National Park. Within the park, you get to see all different types of geology, all the different layers and all the different fossils that they've found over time. We'll work our way over to Fort Hayes, and that's where we'll do a chuck wagon dinner. And that is also the site where they filmed Dances with Wolves. From Rapid City, we'll also make our way up to the Black Hills and getting a chance to see Mount Rushmore and Crazy Horse. And again, we do Mount Rushmore both in the day and the nighttime. And then we take the 1880 steam train throughout the Black Hills. So that's a fun way to take you back into time. A highlight for me on this trip is our Custer State Park visit, and that's where we do the Buffalo Jeep Safari. So we'll get into Jeeps, about 6 people or so per Jeep, and we take you through this incredible park that has over 1,000 head of buffalo. We'll then work our way out towards Wyoming. We'll stop in Deadwood to learn about the Wild West shootouts that took place there, as well heading over to Devil's Tower and the beautiful monolith. As we wrap up, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us on this great travel show. And if you do book a new 2026 tour or European river cruise by Friday the 16th, that's next Friday, we'll reduce the deposit down to $250 if you include your travel insurance with that. We also offer a 1 cabin category upgrade on some of our 2026 European river cruises, and that can save you between $200 and $400 per person. So you book the lower category, you're automatically upgraded to the category above it. But use the code New Year by next Friday in order to get those specials. And in order to book, you can reach us at our 1-800-369-3693 phone number. Talk to Joe, Holly, April, or Samantha, and their emails are listed below as well. You can reach us on our website, afcvacations.com. And a lot of great new and updated trips, different departure dates, all on our website and coming out in the brochure. Those brochures for January should be hitting mailboxes here in the next couple of days. From all of us at AFC, we really appreciate you taking the time to join us today. Thank you for traveling with us and continuing to travel with us. And we really appreciate you being part of the AFC family. But if you do have any feedback about the show, new ideas, destinations that you're looking at and want us to look at, email April at afctours.com, and we are happy to have you travel with us. Thank you all so much and look forward to the next time. Happy New Year.